How and why are possibly the two most frequently used words in my two children's vocabulary. Why is orange juice orange, or what do people like? And my personal favorite, how do you get to heaven, by train or by bus? Such conversations are, in my opinion, the best thing about being a parent. But honesty took on a different meaning in 2014 when my son was stillborn. There were a lot of questions from Ludo, then aged 4, and his sister Iona. It spent a week in intensive care. And when I feebly staggered back to the house, my skin still bearing the marks of numerous cannulas and my eyes red and puffy from tears, I felt too fragile to do anything but hug them. But as the days wore on, Ludo complained of feeling sick and of perpetual tummy aches. We suspected he had caught a bug, but I soon realized that it wasn't illness but rather a knot of anxiety in the pit of his stomach. I spoke to a grief counselor who asked if I had spoken to him about what had happened. I responded, no. I don't think I could without breaking down in tears. But according to the counselor, neither I nor anyone should fear crying in front of our children. Shielding them from vulnerability is, in fact, detrimental if we never cry in front of our children. We are teaching them that it is not okay to cry, however sad or frustrated you are, she says. I proceeded to have a very difficult conversation with Ludo. We both cried, but he felt comfortable to ask the questions he needed. Almost miraculously, the knot of anxiety that had been plaguing him was untangled. The simple act of communication brought us closer, and my honesty brought him comfort in the knowledge that, however hard it might be to bear, I would tell him the truth. We have to stop fobbing children off about sex. This brings me to the issue that causes most parents to lie to their children: sex. But since witnessing how raw honesty intensified our relationship and helped my son compute grief, I concluded that approaching the sex talk with similar openness would be equally positive, and indeed it was. I was driving with both children in the car one wet February day and listening to a Radio 4 program about a story of a baby who developed inside the liver. When Luna turned to me and asked, "But how does the seed actually get inside the mummy's tummy?" Seizing my opportunity, I told them the basic truth. When a man and woman love each other, I began, the man puts his penis into the woman's vagina. This makes the man's seed go into the woman, which fertilizes the egg and makes a baby. I braced myself for confusion, disgust, or more questions. There was a long silence as the children digested the news. What were they thinking? I wondered. "Mummy," piped up Iona, "can we have cheese on toast for supper?" My children accepted my explanation in the same way that they accept why we have to stop at red traffic lights. And so the more I've learned about the role of a parent, the more I've realized that being anything other than honest is a waste of time. Forget the talk and start the conversation. In fact, child mental health specialists agree that the subject should comprise hundreds of smaller dialogues over the course of your child's life. Telling children about sex isn't a one-off piece of information, insists Laura Berman, a sex therapist and author. It's about building a landscape. Before we had children, I once joked with my husband Ben that he would be the one to explain the birds and the bees to our son, as punishment for having come home after a spectacular night on the tiles with a tattoo. But when our children were born, we naturally embarked on a continuous, open conversation, starting with body parts. To begin with, we described them as front, bottom, middle, and bottom. My friends still rip me mercilessly about calling a vagina a front bottom, but it meant that if Iona was suffering an itch or a pain, she could explain accurately where it hurt. Now that the children are older, I hate the advice of the experts and call these body parts what they really are: vagina and a penis. Emma Galito, a teacher and expert in child development, argues that parents should use the correct terminology from the age of 2. Why not just give them the anatomically correct vocabulary? She asks. Every 3-year-old can say vagina and penis, so why not get it right from the start? And it is far more than just a name game. Providing children with the right vocabulary enables them to take proud ownership of their bodies, Gleito argues from the outset. Young children explore their bodies through touch and work out that these parts of their bodies afford pleasure. Parents have the delicate task of ensuring that they understand that this pleasure is a private affair. How pregnant friends and Rihanna can help. Parents might be unsure of how to broach the subject of sex, but it's not a case of waiting for the right time, but rather a sign of children's curiosity. Gleito advises using teachable moments in which the subject of sex arises organically. For Ben and me, such an opportunity came thanks to my sister Olivia, who recently gave birth to a baby girl. When the inevitable questions about why Auntie Olivia had a baby inside her ensued, we jumped at the chance to answer them candidly. If you think about it, there are hundreds of these moments: a pregnant friend, a new baby, bath time. The same applies when the kids merely sing along to Rihanna's song in the car. When she sings, "I know you wanna touch," and Ludo asks me what she means, I tell him. Parents may feel awkward, but that need not be the case. Children don't think about sex the way we do. Adults have generally been tarnished by the world of sordid sex, the objectification of women, and the sleazy world of the sex industry. If we give them information using vocabulary they understand, sex becomes a straightforward activity that's no different from blowing our noses. Seize the moment. Look for those occasions that might inspire a conversation about sex. For example, if the mother of one of their friends is expecting, you could ask, "Have you wondered how that baby got into her tummy?" It's good to walk and talk, have the chat when you're doing something else. Looking directly into someone's eyes makes a conversation a lot more intense. Often the most fruitful and constructive conversations happen when we're not focusing directly on each other. Try talking while you're walking, driving, or coloring a picture. It could be a job for Auntie. The task doesn't have to fall to a parent. It could be another responsible adult such as an aunt or a godparent. Older children often find it awkward to talk to their parents about the intimate parts of sex. Don't lose your cool if something your child does shocks you. Temper your reaction. If you find a used condom in your daughter's bin, don't shout. Tell her how proud you are that she is making sensible, safe decisions. This way, you reinforce the notion that you are a trusted source for advice. You're in it for the long haul. Keep the conversation going throughout childhood. This will make further, more complicated conversations much easier. As your child matures, they will be set up to navigate the incredibly challenging online world that faces children of today. If you don't tell them, someone else will. Like any mother, I worry about what my children might be exposed to outside of the predictability of our home. Despite their lack of interest in social media and the Kardashians, children are resourceful. And one thing is for certain, if they're not getting the information from their parents, they'll find it elsewhere. Deborah Rothman, author of Talk to Me First, Everything You Need to Know to Become Your Kid's Go-To Person About Sex, insists if we're not deliberately reaching out to kids early, almost everything they learn after that is going to be remedial. So, at least when it comes to sex, I can be sure that I have provided the basis of their understanding. Last week, the children spotted a condom in Ben's survival kit. "They are brilliant for collecting water," said Ben. But I seized the opportunity to reveal their main use. When men and women have sex and the seed goes into the mother, sometimes they don't want to have a baby, so they use a cover as it means the sperm can't get in, I said. Now they know what a condom is. According to Emma Gleito, the ideal time for such conversations to evolve is between about 5 and 8 years old. As once children reach the age of 9, they become grossed out by the idea of discussing sex with their parents. Otherwise, it becomes the task of sex education taught at age 11. The idea that children have no notion of sex before then is preposterous. But even so, it isn't a conversation you can have fruitfully in a school environment. Why being naked at home is nothing to be ashamed of. I've never been shy about my body, and Ben and I enjoy piling into the bath with our children. I've never been prudish about them seeing me naked, and they certainly aren't fazed by it. However, as Ludo matures emotionally and physically, I have wondered whether I ought to reconsider our blasé attitude to nudity. Quite the opposite, Gleeto insists. There is an increasing amount of research to suggest that children who grow up in households where there is a matter-of-fact approach to nudity have a healthier body image and make better decisions when it comes to sex. She points to the Netherlands, which has among the lowest teenage pregnancy rates in the world and where cultural attitudes to nudity are more open, as well as potentially providing more of those teachable moments. Gleeto cites a bigger benefit. If a child does not see nakedness at home, then their perception of the human body will be based on unrealistic photoshopped or highly sexualized images that are found online and in the media. I heave a sigh of relief that my imperfect body, cesarean scarred and stretch marked, and with breasts that bear the hallmarks of two well-fed babies, is still serving to give my children a healthy view of what a normal body looks like in a world of Instagram filters. If my years of parenting have taught me anything, it's that honesty, although not always easy, is your friend. Talking about sex is crucial, and having honest conversations with your children will make them, certainly in the long term, respect you and admire your bravery.
Where the freaks at?